At one point in the midst of my gambling career, Kyle had gotten some extra money so that we could take a trip. And it was a very important trip in our lives. And we had extra money in the checking account. And since we had this money in the checking account, I was going to Louisiana. I was spending money that was for a very important trip in our lives. And I went over there, I cashed a check, but while I was at the casino, I used the ATM card. I realized I used the ATM card and I could not let Kyle see the bank statement. So when the bank statement came in and I had canceled checks or checkbooks, I started hiding them by putting them in a shoebox in the top of my closet, because that's a place Kyle would never look, never go or do anything. And I originally had a couple of things that I really didn't want him to see in the shoebox. As the gambling progressed, as I spent more and more money, as I used more and more bill money, I was not paying bills. And we started getting past due notices. We started getting overdue notices. We started getting hot check notices. I would get a credit card. I learned that I could get a credit card, get it fast, almost the day it came in, take it to Louisiana, and max it out, and bring that credit card home, put it up in the shoebox, and I had no intention of paying the bills. So I had credit cards he knew nothing about and bills he knew nothing about. So originally, when it all started, I had a shoebox with a couple of things in it. And as everything got worse and everything started snowballing, I had shoe boxes in the top of my closet full of hot checks, past due notices, overdue notices. At that point, at the very last, we were 6 months behind on the house note. I had maxed out credit cards. I had no idea how many. We had hot checks. I had 2 or 3 overdrawn accounts. And it wound up being shoe boxes full of stuff. There are 4 phases to gambling. It's the winning, the losing, the chasing, and desperation. I hit the desperation phase. I had used every avenue I knew of to get money. I had run out of choices to get money. And in my desperation phase, I wrote a note to a person in our church to borrow money, and she gave the note to the pastor. And he called me. And I went to his office, and we talked. He talked. I cried because I was so full of shame and guilt, and I was just totally embarrassed and hurt. And I had created this mess, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know what was wrong. I knew I needed money. I knew I was desperate, but I didn't know what I was desperate for. And he talked to me, and I had to tell him that my husband had no clue what was going on. He didn't know any of it, because I had been doing all of this and hiding so much and lied so much that he had no clue. And he told me then, that day, that I would have to go home and tell my husband. And he asked me if I wanted him to go home with me if I was scared of my husband. And I told him I wasn't scared that he would hit me, but that I wanted him to. because I wanted the physical pain. Because if I hurt, I would know why I was hurting. I would know where I was hurting. And I would know it would stop. But what I had was so emotional. And I was hurting so bad. But I didn't know why. So I had to go home and I told my husband. And he didn't hit me. And I had so much debt and so much, I had created such a mess, it overwhelmed him. And he said, I've got to have help. I don't know what to do. And he called his brother. And his brother came over. And his brother got a lottery ticket, and on the back of it, he called the 1-800 number and had a Gamblers Anonymous compulsive gambling package sent to my house. And that's when I first became acquainted with Gamblers Anonymous.